Good morning. Welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Bhuvan. This is the Indian Express Explain class. Let's get started. I have three topics for you, like I always do. The first one is IGBC's Nest certification, and this is to do with green buildings. Okay. So you straight away realize that it has again a concept of not just sustainability but also energy efficiency and all the other facets that go inside the construction of a building. How do you make each of them much more greener? And based on those, IGBC is going to go ahead and give ratings to buildings or projects. So that's going to be the first agenda. Number two, we go ahead and understand the Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay. Now this has come in the news. Why? Because the Chief Justice, in fact, made an adverse remark. He said that it seems that there are no adoptions going on in the country. So it talks about some systemic problem that is existing. So let's go ahead and address that, understand that, and also understand in detail about the Central Adoption Resource Authority. And the third topic I have to do that I bring for you is from the Indian Express again. And it talks about the 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature threshold according to the Paris Climate Agreement. This is that magical figure that is often touted around. Okay. So let's go understand in detail what's the science behind it. Why 1.5? Why not say 1.4 or 1.6? Yes. Then that will help you clear a lot of your doubts that come associated with that particular topic. And obviously in the run-up to COP28, it's a very important topic that you ought to be fully having a grasp on. Okay, so let's get started. Meanwhile, if you have any questions for me, any particular observations, you can reach out to me. You will find the PDF of this entire lecture that I will upload on my Telegram channel that goes online say around noon. Okay, and questions, well, you can go ahead and ask me on my Instagram page, which I'll share the link with you later. Okay, let's get started. So IGBC's Nest initiative, right? Guys, welcome. Good to see you guys all again. Good. Ruchira, Bulbul, Koda, Yathendra. Thanks for coming, guys. Okay, let's understand these topics in detail now. So IGBC's Nest, eco-friendly, self-developed tenements. Now what does it say? The Indian Green Building Council. Okay, this is that organization. Now, is it a governmental organization? No. Okay. This is a part of the Confederations of Indian Industries, the CII, right? What is the CII, you might ask? Now, this is a non-governmental, not-for-profit, say, association of business houses and business ventures, okay? Two particular categories that you need to be aware of, non-governmental, okay, and not-for-profit, okay? And it has roughly around say 7,500 business houses that are a part of it. Now that has another body because it has sectoral bodies. So IGBC is the sectoral body for the housing, the energy certification or the science behind building a house. Okay. So Indian Green Building Council. Now this has recently launched a certification initiative called Nest. Okay. Now the IGBC formed by the CII in the year 2001. The basics. Who is doing it? IGBC that reports to the CII. CII, well, you know what is it now. Okay. Now let's go ahead and understand about the Nest initiative. What is the entire agenda? The entire agenda is to promote sustainable and eco-friendly constructions. That's all. Now realize what all goes behind the construction of a house. You are looking at right from say site selection, right, to eventually say building the house, figuring out your water, your energy, all of those connections are taken care of. You're looking at waste management to the point that you go inside your room and say, look at the type of paints that you are using. You realize this. This is the entire scope of constructing a house, right from say outside to inside. And this is what the Nest initiative is also covering. Okay. So it goes and gives these ratings based on 5 particular categories. We will seek to understand what are the categories, but before that realize that housing as a sector is quite energy intensive. It takes a lot of energy, it consumes a lot of energy, okay? Almost more than in fact say your industrial houses, which is why you need to go ahead and regulate it. Have as much greening as possible in this sector, okay? So let's look at it. It will help pave the way for individual house owners and the residential sector to adopt green building features. Now, what are green building features? Those things, those measures that will essentially go ahead and reduce, number one, the ambient temperature in the house, and number two, the power consumption of the house. Okay, as far as possible, you're looking at your local environment and your energy consumption. Now think from the say geography perspective. Okay, let's go ahead and understand from the geography perspective now. So you know that my sun essentially migrates between say Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, right? Now, if you want your building to be green, which means you want to rely more on say solar energy than say coal based or any other sort of energy. If you want your house to be much more conducive to solar energy, which face would you like your house to have? Which face of the house should face prominently towards the sun? Would you like to have north facing houses or would you like to have south facing houses? Well, the obvious connotation is that you should have your house facing southwards, so as to give, at least in India, give yourself the maximum chance to capture solar energy, right? So these are say the basic bioclimatic features that come into designing a green building. As simple as something like this. To say probably go ahead and the more complex ideas, say have odorless paints, right? You must be aware that paints give out say lead emissions. Lead based emissions are given out, which are again harmful for say children, babies, infants, not just for say adults. So in that case, you're looking at say those type of paints that are not giving out those harmful emissions, that are odorless, that are not chemically that sensitive, right? So these are the various facets of what you're looking at is the Nest technology. Okay. Now what are the benefits? Straight away you realize that if this is my aim, that you have to promote sustainable and eco-friendly measures, you are again two parts. Your energy cost goes down, right? And you're looking at reduction in water requirement, and eventually the whole idea is that your house should be in sync with the local ecosystem, right? It shouldn't be a mass consumer. It should be a producer, or it should be a self-sustaining unit, right? So that is the whole idea of the Nest initiative. Now let's look at the national benefits. So straight away you realize, if individual housing projects, residences start doing this, your water management improves, your waste management improves, not just say again at the segregation bit, but also recycling bit. And potentially, you're not just looking at say segregation, but you're also looking at say recycling and potential use in say energy, right? You can have waste management cycles that can go ahead and produce energy for that particular unit. Now all this is why? Why? Eventually the goal is that India has to reach say net zero target by 2070. Net zero target of carbon emissions by 2070. Which means each of these self-sustaining units has to become one. Yes, they can't be reliant too much on the grid. They have to become distributors, producers of power rather than consumers of power, right? So this is it. Energy conservation, reduced use of fossil fuels, dependency on virgin materials, and eventually the well-being of those people who live in that area. Yes. So this is the national outcome that is being planned through the Nest initiative. Now what are the criterias? Let's go ahead and understand the criterias one by one. Your neighbor, good morning, welcome. Let's look at it. Site selection. So where are you building your house? Yes, are you building it on say a riverbed? Is it on a floodplain? Then obviously you are going to get 0 marks here, right? The site has to be in harmony with its local surroundings, right? So beginning from the site selection, you're looking at water efficiency. See, does the building have rainwater harvesting units? Does it have water saving appliances? As far as even having say reduced pressure in your say flushes or in your bathrooms. Sometimes you have extreme high pressure that leads to loss of water. You'll end up wasting water. So that also is a part of it. You're looking at energy efficiency. For example, you must know by now that your glass buildings, yes, if your building are made up of glass, what you realize is that essentially it starts to trap heat. So the more heat you trap, the more AC you use, which means what? Eventually you are looking at this becoming energy intensive. So what is suggested? What would be the right, say, material to use for constructing your houses? Well, ideally it is said, use wood. But then you also realize that using wood is also unsustainable in the long run, which means you're eventually leading to deforestation. Correct? So all of these are again a part of the certification by Nest. Let's look at it. Material resources, waste and dry bins, green construction materials, odorless paints, like I told you. See how they have covered right from the outside till the inside. Everything has to be in sync. It has to be sustainable. And finally, you're looking at the eventual goal being resident health and well-being. Yes, how much sunlight do you have access to? How much wind flow is cross ventilation is being allowed for, right? So all of these are the primary areas. So you're looking at 5 criteria, okay? 5 criteria. Number 1, site selection. Then you're looking at water. You're looking at energy. You're looking at materials. And finally, you're looking at resident health. These are the 5 criteria on which the Nest certification of the Indian Green Building Councils is being offered. Okay. So let's look at the IGBC now. Like I told you, it's part of the Confederations of Indian Industry, which is a non-government, not-for-profit organization. Okay, it has no government representation, right? It offers a wide array of services. More importantly, from the exam perspective, you need to know that they organize the Green Building Congress. Okay, where again you have the different stakeholders who come, brainstorm, come up with ideas, generate, action points, and then chart a, say, plan for the future, right? And you also find that it is part of the World Green Building Council. So it's a regular attendee at all of these meetings, COP27, COP28. Yes, because again, what you realize is domestic households or residential projects are major consumers of power. And so if you need to go ahead and address that problem, you need to have representation from the people who are going and designing those houses, those construction projects, right? They also have a technical team that does all the technical work for them. Got it? So this is the Indian Green Building Council's Nest project. Very, very important once again. Why? Because it's to do with environment, it's to do with power, it's to do with energy, it's to do with sustainability. And obviously, as you realize, it has to do with the health of the residents. Okay? Let's go ahead and answer these questions now, my friends, very quickly. Which of the above may add to the overall efficiency of a green building? Okay. I've given you some hints. We have discussed 1 or 2 points. Apply your brains and come up with an answer. Okay. Number 1, glass buildings. Will it add to the overall efficiency of a green building? Number 2, constructing south-facing buildings. Number 3, grey water used for gardening. Yes. Let me know your answers in the chat box. Is the answer 1 only, 1 and 2, 1 and 3 only, or all of the above? And question number 2. The Energy Conservation Building Code, ECBC. It was launched by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and whether the Bureau of Energy Efficiency reports to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. You will let me know your answers, the correct answers in the comment box as soon as the class ends. Right? We'll discuss the correct answers tomorrow. Okay, before we go forward very quickly, if you understood IGBC and the Nest initiative and the whole point of it, right? Firstly, may I please request you go ahead and leave me a like. It will greatly give me an encouragement. And for those of you who are preparing for civil services next year, well, here's an update for you. The English batch, the date has been extended. The batch now starts on the 24th of November. The bilingual batch starts on the 25th and the Hindi batch on the 23rd. And once again, what I realize is that many of you may not have the fullest of information insofar as preparing for civil services is concerned. Okay. So first, go ahead and apprise yourself of the syllabus. What are the demands of the examination? Only then start preparing. Okay. And so if you need a bit of help, if you think that, well, it's too late for you to do it alone, go ahead, seek help, get connected with us. We have the best of individuals here, the entire team, waiting to take you on board and handhold you to make sure that you are best prepared on the 26th of May 2024. Right? Use the code BALIVE. You'll find the sign up link in the description box below, as that assures that you get allotted to my batch. And more importantly, from your perspective, you get a sizable discount. So that always helps. Right? Okay. To the second topic now, the Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay. Now these are the, first let's look at the news. Then you can go ahead and understand the gravity of the situation. Okay. Let's look at this. Expressing concern at delays in adoptions being carried out in India, the Chief Justice has remarked that there is a great amount of feeling across the country that there are no adoptions going on. Yeah, that's a very adverse statement. No? That's a very stinging remark from the Chief Justice. So let's go ahead and understand what is the problem of adoption in India first. What is the agency, more importantly, that takes care of this? Okay. What is the Central Adoption Resource Agency? Okay. Let's go ahead. So first, please understand it's a statutory body. Okay. It gives effect to several laws, in fact, the juvenile justice law, the adoption laws in the country, all of this it gives effect to. So it's a statutory body, okay, and it reports to the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now, it is designated as the central authority to deal with inter-country adoptions. So for people who would like to adopt a child from India, this is the nodal agency that operates on behalf of the government of India. Okay. Now it gives provision to the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption. So this is the larger policy, the global policy that regulates inter-country adoption. And on behalf of the government of India, the CARA takes care of India's responsibilities. Okay. Now India is obviously a signatory to the Hague Convention on child adoption. Okay. The nodal body regulating the adoption of orphaned, surrendered and abandoned children. They are also known as OAS. Right? So those children who are orphaned or have been abandoned, or they do not, their parents cannot be found. So now the entire goal, guys, okay, understand it. There are two ways this can play out for a child who is under the OAS category. Number one is if they are institutionalized, which means they go to a government facility, okay, and there they are, say, housed for some time before again they are considered for adoption or they are adopted. Okay. So this is the institutionalized framework. And the other one is you have an active role of the state, right, in making sure that they are adopted. Right. There's only two ways it can play out in making sure that a child is adopted. Now what has been found? In India's case, the CARA that I just told you about, the CARA, now this is the nodal agency from the government of India. Okay. And you find that you have state adoption regulatory agencies also. Okay. State adoption agencies are also present. Okay. Now these state adoption agencies once again give effect to district adoption agencies, which are called district child protection units. Okay. Now these district again go ahead and give effect to, say, at block level, at village level, at taluk level. Okay. Village, block, taluk level. So you have a breakdown from right from the top, from the government of India till your, say, panchayat level. You have agencies that are working on behalf of the government of India. Okay. And so who comprises at the district level then? Let's understand this. Who is the person who is responsible for the implementation of these, acts, at the district level? You have the district magistrate, singularly responsible for this, with the child protection officer working under him. The district magistrate is the nodal authority for implementation of child rights and, say, for child adoption agencies in his or her district. Okay. Now, it monitors and regulates bodies, like I told you, the State Adoption Resource Agency. You have authorized foreign adoption agency. Please obviously understand that you are looking at intra-country, which means the child is adopted within the country, and you are looking at inter-country, which means the child is adopted by a foreigner. Both of these is taken care of by the Central Adoption Resource Authority. Okay. You need to understand that the district child protection units that I told you about, headed by the district magistrate only in conjunction with the district child protection officer, which is a person from the state services. Got it? So this is the Central Adoption Resource Authority. Now let's look at the Hague Convention, because again, eventually this is the global policy. So it provides safeguards for children and families. Why? The point is that this set of children, they are vulnerable, right? Like I told you, the OAS category. They are vulnerable children, which means they are much more prone to exploitation, which means they are much more prone to, say, trafficking or, say, any other form of illegal migration, right? Anything can go wrong with them, which is why you want the whole global community to come together and frame a set of policies. And this is the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption. The whole point is to prevent the abduction, the sale and the trafficking of children. Give them adequate level of protection. Okay, that this entire adoption mechanism is susceptible to be misused too much to the detriment of the children who are being adopted. You realize this, which is why this global framework has been adopted. India has ratified this in the year 2003. Okay, right? Let's look at this question, my friends, very quickly. Question number 3. Integrated Child Protection Scheme, ICPS. It mandates setting up of district child protection units. DCPUs, the district child protection units, are mandated to set up child protection committees at district, block and village level. And question number 3. DCPUs are headed jointly by the district commissioner or the district magistrate, divisional commissioner or the district magistrate and the superintendent of police of the district. Okay, you will identify the correct statements for me. The answers, in fact, I have discussed in the last, say, 5 to 7 minutes. If you were careful enough in hearing it, listening to it, this question will be very, very easy. Okay, let's look at question number 4 also now, very quickly. Which of the above are true for the Central Adoption Resource Authority? Is it a statutory body? Is it under Ministry of Women and Child Development? Or is it a non-statutory body? You will let me know your answers in the comment box as you always do. Okay? Great. Before we go forward, once again, if you understood the problem of adoption in India, yes, too many children waiting to be adopted, yet the process is quite slow. Yes, there is almost a thrust by the government on the institutionalized framework that, okay, send the children to see these facilities. Don't put them up for adoption or create delays in adoption. That is the problem about which the Chief Justice has remarked. Okay. So once again, before I go forward, this is an announcement for your optional. You are looking at PSIR, Sociology, Geography, Anthro, PABAD, History, Mathematics, Philosophy, Hindi, Sahitya. Guys, prepare your optionals. I say this every morning and I'll say it again today. Be very, very serious about your optionals. Your next 35 years could potentially be decided by your optional score. Right? So make sure that you give a lot of focus. Don't overstress on, say, current affairs at the expense of static subjects. That's a mistake many candidates do. Okay? So once again, course beginning soon. And the sign-up link is in the description box below. Make sure that you use the code BALIVE. Right? I hope to see many of you associated with the optional program that StudyIQ is offering. And well, you'll see the individuals associated with the subjects. Yes, individuals of high mettle, of immense experience, of the ability to guide you in the right direction. And this is what you require, specifically if you're looking for setting up the next 35 years of your life. Okay, right? The third topic, chaliye, very quickly. Yathendra, I think you have got it correct. I'll have to check, but yes, do attempt the other questions also too, Yathendra. ठीक है, ये question, अब ये सवाल देखिए. So this again an article from the Indian Express. 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold breached on 86 days this year. So the World Meteorological Organization recently has released a report saying, well, humanity is well poised to break the 1.5 degree centigrade temperature threshold that you and I agreed on. Now the countries agreed on. 195 countries agreed to this particular limit under the Paris Climate Act, the Paris Climate Convention. The Paris Agreement, in fact, okay? This was agreed to. Now, you must ask yourself this, no, at times. What is the logic? Why 1.5? Why not 1.4 or 1.6? If you look at the text document, it said 2 degrees centigrade. How did we come down to 1.5? So, let's go ahead and understand the facts of the matter first. Okay. So, recently you had a report, the Emissions Gap Report. Okay. It is published by the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Okay, again very important. Very, very important. Okay. So the emissions gap report says that well, our current climate policies, that the way we are functioning now right now, guys, yes, we are going to become at least 3 degrees centigrade warmer by the year by the end of the century. This is going to happen. 3 degrees centigrade, the average temperature will go up. Okay. Now, please understand, during the coronavirus pandemic, you found that global emissions dropped. Okay. But as soon as the pandemic finished and life came back to normalcy, now the emissions have gone back to say 2017-18 levels, which means we are emitting at the same rate. Nothing has changed much. That was just a brief pause that we took. Now, our aim is to go ahead and say maintain our threshold. Yes, maintain our threshold. The whole, if you look at the text, what it says, no, the Paris Climate Agreement. Let's look at the text. The exact words that it uses is to limit the temperature increase. This is what it says. To limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade or 2.7 degree Fahrenheit, 2.7 Fahrenheit, roughly, above or say below pre-industrial levels. So now you must ask yourself this question: what is the pre-industrial level? Is there a specific time period? Is there a specific time period that we are looking at first? Because again, this is a document that all countries have agreed to, which means every factor, every variable should be absolutely mentioned. So what is a pre-industrial level? Now there is no general definition here, okay? This is the, let's look at the facts now. There is no general definition on what a pre-industrial level is. However, large consensus says that you're looking at the time period from say 1850 to 1900. Okay, this is the pre-industrial level that they are looking to target. Now, what is the situation as of now? As of now, what you find is that if we are to meet our 2030 target, yes, if we are to meet that 2030 target of 1.5 degrees centigrade, right, we need to have negative use of carbon, in fact, negative emissions right now, which means we should stop emitting, right? If you look at the article here, let's look at it. You'll realize the situation is, well, to put lack of a better word, quite hopeless. Okay, let's look at it here. Yes, this particular paragraph, no, focus with me. To meet this gap, global emissions would need to drop by at least 8.7% every year from 2024. Right? That we need to have 8.7% every year of drop, negative we need to go. But what you find is that this is not happening at all. No ways, even we are not even close. Okay? Right? Every year you need to realize you need to drop by 5.3%. But this is not happening. We are nowhere close. In fact, we are showing an upswing. Rather than going downwards, we are in fact increasing our emissions year by year. Which countries are primarily emitting? Well, the usual ones that you can think of. Yes, the countries that are most industrialized, the countries that are giving the most amount of emissions, China, United States. Okay. You also had India, whose emissions rose. But then you're looking at countries like Russia, European Union and Brazil that have cut back on their emissions. Russia obviously because under the effect of sanctions. Okay. So this is the entire logic. Now the 1.5 degree centigrade conversation. Let's look at it. Who decided 1.5 degree centigrade first? Okay. So under the Paris Climate Agreement, okay, under the Paris Climate Agreement, you had a fact-finding committee. Okay. This fact-finding committee was tasked with figuring out a particular temperature range that they should recommend. Now, ideally, initially, 2 degrees centigrade was offered. Okay, 2 degrees centigrade was offered. But then eventually the countries decided to go ahead and will limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So a less ambitious target was set in the first place. Okay. Now, this was supposed to be a defense line. What is a defense line? Please understand this. What is a defense line? Eventually it says that if the world can keep the temperature increase below 1.5 degrees centigrade, right, you are looking to avoid irreversible changes of climate in some areas of the world. These are the two terms you should focus on. Okay, in some areas. Right? So which means some areas are going to be hit. It's not that all of us will be safe. Correct? Now, does that mean that if you put it at 1.49, we'll all be safe? No. In fact, it is said that, well, the target should be 1.4, 1.3. As far as possible, keep it down. But 1.5 is the threshold. And threshold of what? Even under that condition, you're looking at some countries that will be negatively hit. Okay. So this is the logic that was offered behind having that 1.5 degree centigrade temperature limit threshold above pre-industrial levels that was agreed to in the Paris Climate Agreement. Understand this? So this is the entire focus. Why 1.5 degree centigrade? You should have an absolute fair idea about it. Okay? Right? Let's look at this question now, my friends. Which of the above are consequences of ozone layer depletion? Okay. Number one, will it decelerate the breakdown of paints? Okay. Okay. Will your paints break down slower or faster? This is the question I'm trying to ask you. Number two, will it inhibit mutation? Now, what is mutation? You know it. If you don't, well, class 8 biology. So, will it inhibit it or will it say promote mutation? Another question. And number three, will it accelerate or decelerate metabolism? Not just of, say, flora, but also of fauna. Okay. Let me know your answers in the comment box. One only, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, none of the above. Okay. Right. This is where you connect with me, my friends. If you have any particular doubts related to what we discussed here today. Okay. Many of you have connected with me on my Instagram channel that goes by the name of Bhuvan StudyIQ. Please do connect. I'll be happy to go ahead and address your doubts for you. Right. Let's look at the questions of yesterday then. Apartheid. We discussed yesterday in detail. We looked at, say, the accusation against Israel that it is committing apartheid. Okay. So, apartheid as a system of segregation, where did it exist in? Well, only two places, South Africa and Namibia. Your answer being B only. Okay. Zimbabwe had no apartheid, thankfully. Identify the correctly matched. Now, I have uploaded a PDF on my Telegram channel that comes from the Department of Commerce. Okay. It's an official document of the Government of India. And that document explains the differences between free trade agreement, preferential trade agreement, most favored nation, rules of origin, comprehensive economic partnership agreement. All of these terms that are frequently used in your newspapers. Many of you may not be aware of the minor differences. Please go ahead, access that PDF on my Telegram channel. Okay. I expect you to have absolute clarity on these fundamental topics. Okay. So, preferential trade agreement has a positive list. Free trade agreement has a negative list. Economic union has no concept of list because it is the highest level of economic integration. Okay. Thus, the correctly matched here being 1 and 2 only. Question number 3. Which of the above are released by World Bank? So, yesterday we looked at a report that the World Bank had published, and the chief economic advisor to the Government of India, he remarked adversely about. Okay. So, ease of doing business, yes, obviously World Bank. Worldwide governance indicators, to which India has raised an objection on 2 counts. The objections are on 2 counts. One is the sampling, and number 2 is the interpretation of that sampling. Because eventually what you find is that this is used by the credit rating agencies such as CRISIL and the other Fitch, okay. They go ahead and give credit ratings to economies, and developing countries, more importantly, rely on these agencies a lot. This is why the problem from the Government of India has come. Okay. So, which of the above are released by World Bank? B being your correct answer here. Just the first 2. The third one is released by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. Okay. Renuka, good morning. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Right. So, my friends who answered the questions correctly, very happy to see some new names here. Satyabrata, Studying Raccoon, well done. Manika, Neeraja, Mandeep, Shubham, Akhil, Koda, Manoj, Ruchira, Ayush, Aditya, Gatso, Rahul, Akshay and Abhishek. Well done, guys. To the rest of you, once again, I will request you. Answer the questions of today, specifically the ones that are more conceptual in nature. Yes. Go ahead and take a stab at answering them. Okay. And make sure that you straight away clear any doubts that you might have after this lesson. Reach out to me on my Instagram page and I'll be more than happy to address it for you. Okay. Right. Upload the PDF. I will at 1 p.m. and I will also see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. the next class of Indian Express Explained. Till then, have a fantastic day. Have a productive day. God bless you all. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Bye.